Let's go to Nate here. Nate, common caller here, Crush Live Poker subscriber. Hopefully, Crush Live Poker app creator. Got some great pre-flop charts that we want to incorporate into the website when I get some time finally as we settle in. You're up next, Nate. What's going on?
How's it going, Bart?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Awesome. You can hear me well?
Yep.
All right. This is a 2-5 match stack game and a poker club, and we are 2,800 effective.
Like a private club?
And
Private club?
yeah, poker club.
Okay.
We have clubs kind of like Texas has in Ohio as well. We have ace, king of diamonds in the cutoff. All right. So a younger kid, and I don't even think he's 21 yet. He plays in the poker club because you can be 18. He opens to 20 from the low jack. The hijack calls, and I 3-bet to 100 from the cutoff. It folds back to the kid who 4-bets to 200, and I just call.
So he like kind of min clicks it?
Yeah, it's a min click 4-bet basically.
So low jack to 20, hijack calls, hero obviously legit squeezes here with the ace king of diamonds, right? And now the low jack 4 bets to 200. The guy gets out of the way. Now, I mean, you can play this a number of different ways. I remember when I was doing top section, theoretically, pre-flop, in a spot like this, the way that you balance always putting the extra bet in with aces, right? Because there's 6 combos of aces is actually putting the extra bet in always with ace king suited. There's 4 combos of ace king suited. Sometimes putting in it with kings as well. And then obviously like later versus later, you sort of go down the line. I kind of want to just. I mean, it's weird, right? We just talked about this with Squish at the top of the show, like having a live 5-bet range in spot. Like, so obviously you can just call in position, but this seems kind of like bullshit to me. But I just hope that you're continuing on a lot of flops that you miss.
I
You know,
have ace, queen of diamonds too.
oh, ace queen of diamonds.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Then it's just then mostly call. I thought you had ace king of diamonds. My bad.
Oh, it's all good.
All right. So mostly call. Okay.
All right, so we go to the flop, about 425 in the pot,
Yep.
and we get jack of diamonds, 10 of clubs, 9 of diamonds.
Jack of diamonds, 10 of clubs, 9 of diamonds. Wow, that's a crazy flop.
Yeah.
With ace queen of diamonds, so you flop the world. You've got an open-ended straight draw, flush draw, and then you've got like 2 overcards to the board. But obviously it's a 4-bet pot. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so he leads for 100.
Into 425. Interesting.
Right. And I raise to 500. And he tank calls.
Yeah, this is. I remember you emailing this in. So I assume that here's the thing that's a little bit incongruent here, Nate, and why I'm. Well, first of all, you can't. It's hard to fuck up when you have such a huge draw. It's really hard to kind of like fuck it up, right? Like by not playing like just because like any sliver of fold equity is just like. I mean, if you have ace queen of diamonds and he happens to have kings and you can get like kings to fold like 10% of the time, it's probably profitable, right? In a spot like this. The only thing that I'm thinking about here is I think you probably think it's a better board for you in defending in a 4-bet pot than him. But we do have to remember there is a guy in between, so his 4-betting could be a little bit wider. But his sizing is so weird. It just seems weird to the setup pre seems weird. So I just think that I might call here and see what develops. With that being said, you could make a case where if you raised, even if you had almost no fold equity, as long as he didn't jam back over the top, you're this is a rare spot in Hold'em. You're kind of manipulating the pot where you're making it larger with this gigantic draw towards the nuts, where you can just continue to put money in when you make it, and then you might even be able to take a free card on the turn when you don't, if he calls. You know what I'm saying? Like, because if you make it 500 here and he calls, and then turns a brick, like what is he folding to a bet on the turn? So I could kind of see that too a little bit. You're just sort of
Right.
building up to such a nut type of hand, you know. So that's kind of my thoughts here.
Right. So that was exactly what I was thinking too as well.
Okay.
So
Okay, so now the pot's like 1425, right?
yes.
1425, and you guys have what, 21? You have a pot and a half size bet left.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So the turn is the three of hearts.
So that's a pretty big. So that's a pretty big brick, right? That's what we're
Yeah,
talking
that's a
about.
huge brick.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and this is actually my main question, which you kind of already answered, but he checks it and I check behind, which is something I've been doing lately, and I kind of wanted your opinion on.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? You're the one who's blocking all the draws. So with what you have in your hand and what's gone on in this hand weights him to having some sort of made hand, right? And we just said like this is the biggest brick in the world. So I just can't imagine that there's really much fold equity if you bet here on the turn. Now that there's only one card left, you're probably you're a dog now, right? You're a dog now. I mean, if he's got king king, you've got nine outs to diamonds. You don't really have a 15 out draw because you could have like a 13, 12 or 13 outs on the open-ended straight draw flush draw side, and then three of the aces, 15 or 16. I mean, that's really only 30-35%. So I think this is kind of akin to sometimes when we overbet turn with a big draw, when someone checks to us on the turn and we overbet it and they call. This is kind of like, it's that same concept. Like if you bet huge on the turn as a double barrel with a big combo draw and the guy calls, you're supposed to be doing a lot of giving up on the river when you miss, right? You're trying to add the fold equity in the turn. I think this is similar to that. What you've done here is tried to add the fold equity in the flop, manipulate the pot size. And now on the turn, I mean, you're not giving up because we're not at the river, but I just don't see a point in betting here. Because what are you going to do? Ship? Like if someone could say like, oh well, you could just go all in here for a pot and a half size bet. I mean, if someone's gonna call flop and then fold turn with like aces or kings, I guess, but it doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense, for them to do that. So
So cool. That's exactly what I was kind of thinking when I've been doing this. So I'm glad we're in agreement here. So
someone says why can't ace king fold now? I don't know. Is ace king calling the flop
I,
on jack
I
ten
would think
nine?
ace king's folding to the flop
Yeah, I
raise.
mean it's just like it's not jack 10-3, it's jack 10-9. I think it's a slightly different texture. Um, so in this particular scenario, so okay, so it goes check check, right?
Right.
Okay, yep.
All right. So Rivers saying 1425.
Hmm.
We get the three of diamonds.
Okay, so you make a front door flush.
Yes.
Okay,
And it pairs the board.
right, and it pairs the
Right.
board. Yep, you got the not diamonds, but it pairs the board. Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
So he checks and I go 500.
Check hero 500. Okay.
All right. And he jams.
So hero 500, and then that means that you guys put in six, so he's got 22, so 1700 more, right? He jams for 22, so is that right? 19, 4100, like 4117 to call. Is that right? 41, yeah, 4117 to call. Um, so LJ jams, and then the pot is 4100, 1700 to call. And I know that my math is somewhat correct, somewhat close to correct, because if you just add the pot size, it'll be 58, and you guys started with 28. There's some dead money in there. 28 times 2 is 56. So you're getting like three. So you're getting 3.5. Let's see here. One, two, one, two. What? 2.5 to 1 here. Something like that. 2.5 to 1. And then, but what is he? God, check jam. So what he's saying is that he had jacks, tens, or nines, trying to see how credible this is. So he has jacks, tens, or nines. He doesn't three bet pre, or excuse me, he doesn't three bet the flop. And then you take a card on the turn. So let's say that I had tens or jacks or nines, and I bet the flop, and you made it 500. And I was like, well, you know what? Like Nate's got a bunch of king queens here or gigantic draws. Now, as crazy as it sounds, I don't know how well I'm doing here with like, let's say I had 10-10 here or something like that, right? Let's say 10-10 because I think that's easier to examine. So maybe Nate has Jack Jack here. Maybe Nate has some King Queens, or he's got a hand like with some sort of massive equity. So I'm not just gonna four bet get it in when Nate goes to 500 on the flop on Jack 10-9. So I call. Now the turn's a 3, and I check, and Nate checks behind. Okay. Now the river's front door diamond. Well, if Nate had a draw, right, and I have 10-10, and he makes diamonds, he should bet. So I'm gonna go for a check raise. I mean, that seems like it's logical. I will go back though, Nate, to the fact that this kid is playing in this underground club because he's probably underage, some sort of young whippersnapper type, where like he's gonna try to like pull some. Who knows? I mean, I'm trying to think like what would some sort of bluff with like. I don't know. I mean, you have the ace of diamonds in your hand though. That's the crazy thing. He's got Jack 10 suited. He's gonna play an Omaha bluff. You know what I mean, or something like that, like 10-9. You know, I don't know. I mean, it's certainly an underbluff spot. Getting the pot odds.
Yeah, and when I went back to pre-flop, I was thinking, is this kid really min clicking me with nines through jacks? It just isn't something I see ever. Like min click four bets a lot. Aces or kings or just they're never medium pairs.
That is a pretty good point, Nate. That is a good point. Even one that I missed. You know, just going back to pre-flop for hand reading. That's an excellent point. Nate's talking about the pre-flop four bet sizing. You know, Nate's put in a lot of live poker hours like me. Like, is he clicking to 200 with jacks, tens, or nines? This is what the story this guy's trying to tell, right?
Right. And then the second part of the story that made no sense to me is, did he really call the flop raise with a set, check to me, I check behind, he hits a boat, and he checks it to me again?
Well, I mean, I think I ran through that scenario. I actually think that that's feasible.
What you just said made a lot more sense. But in real time, there were the two factors that I weighed towards calling here, actually. So I ended up making a call.
Wow. Okay. So Hero calls. I think that the first thing you said is really good in just the sense of, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I definitely agree that it's non-standard pre, but the problem here when you hold the nut flush on a paired board is like the typical types. Well, I guess maybe it's not as relevant as I think because the board is paired. It's just because if he's representing a boat, then maybe it's not quite as relevant. It's just hard sometimes when you have like sometimes when this happens when you have you're betting something for value, right? And like you have the stiff nut card and the board's not paired, and then someone like makes a check raise on the river, and you're like, what the fuck is this? I have the ace of diamonds, but I guess it's probably not as relevant as I'm thinking. So, okay, so you call and
he has pocket kings with the king of diamonds.
Low Jack has king with the king of diamonds. What is he trying to get you off of?
I don't. So we had a discussion in Discord about this, and some people thought it was a good play by the kid, but I thought that the main thing he's trying to get me to fold is like king queen, and he's double blocking king queen.
King queen?
I mean, is he trying to get me to fold a flush here?
Well, yeah, but how do you have king queen as played though? You're gonna raise to 500 on the flop and then check back the turn on a brick? That doesn't make
Yeah, I'm
sense.
not gonna check him out king queen.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he's trying to get me off a flush then.
I mean, it's definitely a rare sort of underbluff spot, but I think I would go back to what you said pre-flop And then I would even just think like, is this kid, does he even know enough about poker where he's not going to just get in a set on the flop? Like maybe I'm giving him too much credit.
Right.
So yeah. Hey,
And
anytime you get pot odds and you have a nut flush, it can't be that bad, right? In a four
right.
bet pot.
So the other thought was, did this kid just think he beats two pair now and just rip it in?
I mean, if he's that bad, maybe
I don't think he was that bad, but just
that'd be fucking bad, right?
right.
I mean, I'd be more impressed if he had Jack 10 suited here. That
Yeah.
would make a whole lot more sense.
He's blocking all the boats for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for the call, Nate, as always.
All right, thank you, Mark.
All right.